welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Makbool with you at PTV World. In today's show, we will be taking a look at two very important topics. The first is in reference to something, again, unfortunately in Pakistan that tends to happen around the time of midnight. Perhaps there's something related to it, but we have seen that the Punjab Assembly has been going ahead with a lot of ruckus for the past few days. And of course, this entire issue was started when the PTI earlier announced last year that they're going to be dissolving the assemblies in KP and Punjab. And then afterwards, of course, the issues with regards to the governor's ruling and the speaker's ruling were taken to the Lahore High Court. That brought some time to the CM Punjab till 9 a.m. today. There was also, of course, an increase in the interim relief earlier given. Until that time, of course, the assemblies couldn't be dissolved, and there was a lot of urge from the opposition parties for a vote of confidence to be undertaken, with both sides talking about how the numbers were in their favor. But we have seen in the development that took past midnight that the CM Punjab did enjoy the vote of confidence, has in fact the minimum number of votes that were needed, a number of 186, that was earlier claimed to be 187 by the PTI. But what's more important now with reference to how this is going to proceed is exactly what this means for the Punjab Assembly, especially after the summary has been forwarded to the governor as well by the CM regarding the dissolution of the Punjab Assembly after his meeting with the PTI chairman Imran Khan. So we're going to be taking a look at what that means specifically regarding the kind of walkout that we have seen being staged by the opposition parties as well, in reference to calling the entire speaker's session with regards to the vote of confidence being bulldozed and unconstitutional. And so what is going to happen of those claims, and whether or not, considering of course that now that the summary has gone, we'll be seeing any sort of acceptance, and if there is none, will there be some sort of development in the 48 hours that follows. So we're going to take a look at all of this in detail and what this means for the political situation in Pakistan. The next topic is going to take a look at the economic challenges and the development with regards to the president of UAE that has agreed to roll over the existing loan of $2 billion and also provide an additional $1 billion to Pakistan in another loan. And so, of course, this is something that is quite important, the kind of crunch that Pakistan faces at the economic front, especially with reference to its foreign exchange reserves, and of course is most welcome. This development also, of course, buys us some time in the entire aftermath of what is going on with the IMF, with the 9th review still pending, and of course the kind of pledges that have been made at the Geneva conference that are going to take their time coming in and improving the situation at the economic front. But what these developments mean, and also what has come from the SFD, which is an agreement to finance a further $1 billion in oil derivatives, and the kind of stance that, of course, the Saudi leadership in the UAE is taking, and how much that is going to help, and what this means, especially for Pakistan to be able to recover in the remaining fiscal year. So that is going to be what we're going to look at the end of the show today. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farooq Patafi, and we've also been joined in the studios by Mr. Hafiz Ehsan Ahmed Khokhar, who's Advocate Supreme Court of Pakistan. Thank you very much for joining us and being a part of the discussion. And we've also been joined by two very important yet small guests in the studio as well. Hafiz Saab's children are also with us, and so we're very happy to be able to do the show in front of them. We've also been joined online by a respected guest, Mr. Osama Khaver Gumman, who's law professor at LUMS, Advocate High Court of Pakistan. Thank you very much for joining us. And Barrister Safiullah Ghori, who's a political analyst and a regular at our show. Thank you very much, everyone, for being part of the discussion. But let me start with you, Hafiz Saab, considering, of course, that there is much in terms of legalities that has been discussed in the past also, especially with regards to what is going on in the Punjab Assembly. And unfortunately, we've seen that a lot of the kind of political discussions we need to see tend to move over to the courts. There is a lot of ruckus and hue and cry about how the vote of confidence taken was perhaps unconstitutional or bulldozed. What do you think really is the matter over here? Because we, of course, know that the vote of confidence could be taken any time till the CM was still there, or was there some other clause that perhaps wasn't taken into account?
Thank you so much. There are two aspects of this case. The constitutional or the political controversy started since April 2022, when the PTI government was ousted through a vote of no confidence by the opposition, and the PDM took over the charge. And then there has been a controversy in Punjab. First, the chief minister was selected or elected by the Punjab Assembly from the opposition side, and then there was a judgment of the Supreme Court. The votes were not counted of those dissenting members of the PTI, and then again the PTI coalition party took over the charge as a chief minister in view of the judgment of the Supreme Court of Pakistan. Then the PTI leader showed his desire to dissolve the provincial assemblies, both the KPK and the Punjab. And when he has announced a date for the dissolution, the opposition, they moved a vote of no confidence against the chief minister, and then simultaneously the governor of Punjab on the same day has issued an order under Article 137 of the Constitution to ask the chief minister through Speaker Punjab Assembly to get a vote of confidence, and the speaker did not honor the prerogative of the governor of the Punjab, and ultimately he set aside, and the matter went to the Honorable Lahore High Court, when there was a suspension order issued by the governor and executed by the Chief Secretary of Punjab. And today it was the day, and before that the Chief Minister, he got the confidence last night, and today it was during the proceedings before the High Court, the lawyer of the governor, they have conceded that the governor has accepted the vote of no confidence process, and he had withdrawn the letter issued for the vote of no confidence. So this is the background, but now there would be the two consequences of that. First is the constitutional effect of that the process. Now the chief minister has issued his right, or he has exercised his constitutional right and has moved a summary to the governor of Punjab under Article 112 of the Constitution, and through 18th and 20th Amendment of the Constitution, certain major changes have been taken place in the Constitution. Now the governor has only 2 days to intact or not to decide the fate of the Punjab Assembly, and after 48 hours it would automatically dissolve, and simultaneously he can ask to the chief minister to continue, which he has asked earlier when there was a process of the vote of no confidence. And further, the leader of the opposition or leader of the house, if they don't agree on a name, then simultaneously both send 2 each names to the members of the assembly, constituted a committee comprising 6 members, and if they are unable to decide, the matter will go to the Chief Election Commission of Pakistan, and Chief Election Commission of Pakistan will decide the matter, and then there would be a chief minister after 7 days. But this is a constitutional aspect. Now the political aspect would be very important in this particular case. If we on the same pattern would go to the Election Commission, and there would be a new chief minister in Punjab, there would be a serious repercussions in Punjab, and without going into the legal acceptability of election reforms in Pakistan, and by not taking the political parties on one page, there would be a hostility in the country. And if these political parties go in that way for a political campaign in Punjab, because it is a major province of Pakistan, and it matters for the constitution of the government, both in Punjab at the central level. So that would have a serious effects, and simultaneously we have a major serious problems of our economy, and the political parties are not realizing, and they are not sensing the situation, and our Prime Minister is going outside to get the money to just to make sure that our financial year will go in a better way. So there are serious issues which need to be addressed before going to the election in Punjab or the KPK or the general election.
Right, absolutely, and of course there are many questions to be talked about with regards to the political and economic aspects as well. But I want to also come to, of course, the kind of issues regarding the legal concerns in the 48 hours. But let me first just come to you, Osama Saab, with regards to what was earlier being discussed in the Lahore High Court as well, and what was talked about when this entire issue was taken to the courts. There was, of course, a lot of discussion on the Speaker's ruling also also being called unconstitutional, and the governor's notification or his ruling being called unconstitutional. There are a lot of aspects that were being discussed. And I understand that the vote of confidence has been accepted and the notification has been withdrawn. But in terms of the legal questions that existed at that time as to what the speaker ruled and what the governor decided, are those questions no longer going to be addressed?
Thank you, Sana, for inviting. So I think those questions, they have become infructuous. So a fundamental principle of legal adjudication is that the courts are not to embark upon purely theoretical questions. So since the governor, it appears the lawyer of the governor appeared in court, and he conceded that he had been informed by the speaker, and the lawyer of the speaker also presented the report of the governor in the court, and I believe the case was disposed of. So in technical language, we call it, the petition had become infructuous. But a fundamental question still remains, Sana, and which the court would have to address at an appropriate moment. And perhaps considering what sort of legal and political crisis that has been going on in this country now for almost a year and a half, is that what sort of satisfaction of the governor was required to take a vote of confidence. And I say this in the context that, you see, there's a president sitting at the federal level, President of Pakistan, and there's also a federal government, and they both appears to be from opposite parties. The president technically is not supposed to be from one single party, but he has not tried to hide his affiliations or who does he consult. We saw this in the saga of Army Chief's appointment. So what if, considering the MQM has been has some serious reservations with this coalition, and they have threatened to separate their ways. So what if the president tomorrow asks the federal government to take the vote of confidence at the federal level? So the question is going to be the same, that what is the material, what sort of satisfaction which the governor was required to take in the constitution, and did he exercise his power correctly? And that question would have to be ultimately addressed, because what we need to understand, that after the 18th Amendment, which is 2010, which was a remarkable feat of political parties, they came together and devolved power, and they also trimmed the powers of the governors and the president. But what the political parties did not do, and that my thesis was by design, they also kept the role of the governor and the president in certain matters. And for example, one of the matters was they did not want a usurper, a chief minister who did not command majority in the House. They did not want him to remain chief executive of the province, or for that matter, a prime minister to be the prime minister, who is chief executive of the country, to remain in seat. So they gave, counterintuitively, this function to in fact intervene in the legislature's matters and ask the concerned legislature to take vote of confidence. And the intent appeared to be that they did not want that, look, if there's a speaker who is from the ruling party and who's not being fair, and then the opposition MPs, they are being denied the opportunity to bring a vote of no confidence, so on and so forth. So the constitution makers, by design, left this discretion. And it was very disturbing that the governor had certain material before him. It was not that just one fine day he woke up and he's like, oh, I don't like the weather today, or my tea is not good, so I'm going to ask the chief minister to take a vote of confidence. He had some serious material before him, and it was obvious to anyone reading news. And in that serious circumstances, he asked the governor to take the chief minister to take a vote of confidence, and the chief minister, instead of taking that vote of confidence, the speaker stepped in, overruled a constitutional power of the governor and passed this irrelevant order, which appears to me unconstitutional order. He did not have any role, and then for 2 weeks, this province, it appears, was being
Right,
run
but
on a
but
stay
Usama
order.
Sab, has it been declared unconstitutional by the courts? I understand you're giving your
No,
opinion, but we haven't really heard anything yet.
it wasn't. It wasn't. But I'm saying it would have to be, not in this case, but pretty soon the court would have to outline the powers that the governor has in similar case.
All
There
right,
has
all
no,
right.
there has
We'll
been any.
discuss further on that. Right. Barrister Safi, of course, I understand you're here also in the capacity of political analyst, but let me present to you a legal question with regards to, of course, the issue now of the next 48 hours and what the summary of the resolution of the Punjab Assembly means and the options that we have for the governor. Can you help us understand what can possibly happen in these 48 hours, whether or not this summary is accepted or rejected, what is going to be the next step, and how can the vote of no confidence play a role in the next 48 hours with regards to the resolution of the Assembly?
Thank you, Sana. So the way I look at it, PTI has managed to shoot itself in the foot, and it's quite unfortunate the kind of things that would happen, not just in the next 48 hours, but in the next 90 days, as per Article 224, subsection 2 of the Constitution of Pakistan, which outlines the procedure of the dissolution of the federal or the provincial assemblies and what would happen thereafter. Um, Before I begin, I would obviously like to state that Khokar Saab already did give a summary, but I'll dilate upon it in further details. So the way it works right now is that there needs to be an appointment of a caretaker chief minister. The the speaker now, sorry, the governor is bound to appoint somebody as the caretaker chief minister in consultation with the chief minister and the leader of the opposition, and this is to be done if this is to be done if presuming that he decides to dissolve the assemblies. If he doesn't decide to dissolve the assemblies obviously stand to get dissolved themselves, and this process would continue regardless of whether he dissolves the assemblies or not. Now, once this happens, and if
Right. So, Barrister Safi, if you would clarify what the difference would be in terms of the acceptance or rejection if either way the assemblies are going to be dissolved.
right, because as has already been mentioned under the 18th Amendment, the assemblies now stand dissolved automatically within 2 days if the governor himself does not dissolve them via an order. So since he has been advised by the chief minister to do so, he is now duty bound to follow the chief minister's advice and dissolve them. He doesn't have a choice. If he does not do so, they stand automatically dissolved. Now, I just want to sort of go ahead post the dissolution of the assemblies, because it's fairly certain that they will be dissolved unless the High Court now intervenes and somehow creates a new jurisprudence on this matter, as they've done so on a variety of other matters. But presuming, of course, that the constitution is followed, the chief minister now has to be appointed, a caretaker chief minister. Now, as already mentioned, this has to be done in consultation with the chief minister and the opposition leader. If that is not done, then the Speaker National Assembly has to form a committee, and the committee must have members from all parties in the parity that they are represented in the parliament. So once again, this would be evenly matched. If a committee is made, say, of 6, 7, 8 people, and parity is kept into consideration, and since they're both equally matched, we've seen that the chief minister has barely scraped by with the vote of confidence that he has taken. So it's unlikely that such committee would be able to decide who the chief minister would be either. And if that is not done, then the matter is referred to the election commission. Now, we've already seen the PTI constantly berate the election commission and constantly challenge everything that comes out of the election commission. In fact, PTI's biggest challenge right now is in the election commission itself, where contempt notices have been issued against former Prime Minister Imran Khan by the chief election commissioner. And in this particular scenario, it would be the chief election commissioner's decision on who they appoint as the chief minister of the province. And once the chief election commissioner has appointed the chief election commissioner the said chief minister, caretaker chief minister, that chief minister would have 90 days before elections can take place. So this government is to be then made for a period of 90 days. That's 3 months. presuming that this entire process ends up taking maybe a month, could be a month and a half, and then add to that 3 months, we are at election time anyways. So, this whole idea of doing this doesn't make any sense. General elections were supposed to take place, even if they managed to get elections held in the Punjab Assembly for after 3 months, that's still pointless. All that PTI states now, and I think Fawad Chaudhry's statement was very telling when he said that, and he, and he admitted that elections in the Punjab Assembly would not automatically trigger elections throughout the country. But now the argument that the PTI is taking is that since Punjab is the most populous province of Pakistan, and if elections are to be held in Punjab, might as well hold them all over the country. This is complete disregard of the 18th Amendment. This is complete disregard of the kind of federation that Pakistan is. But regardless, I mean, leaving aside the skewed logic that PTI has applied here, we can be fairly certain that this decision is going to end up with the election commissioner, and a choice might come about that PTI would not like, and then once again we'll see yet another season of rigging, of how the system is screwed, and how they need to come forward, maybe more Hakiki Azadi marches or whatnot. And it's just unfortunate that these things keep happening, and I believe partly these things keep happening because maybe perhaps they're not advised legally and properly as to the consequences of what their actions will be.
Right, absolutely. Farooq, if you remember, previously when we were talking about these issues, we talked about the distinction between early elections and very early elections, and it seems that we no longer sort of have that distinction, or barely so. And so when we take a look at this situation, what Barrister Safi has clarified seems that the PTI has nothing to gain out of this, but they seem pretty confident moving forward that this is something that is somehow in the party's favor or in the country's favor as well. What could possibly that be, and whether or not there may be any sort of symbolic victory attached, that even perhaps if they could push the elections a day earlier, it is still early elections?
Right, but early election does not mean that they are going to win in the election also,
Sure.
Sarah. I'm glad that Safi actually took on the cap of a political analyst as well, because otherwise I was feeling very lonely, because all the legal technicalities are yesterday's news. Now you are firmly within my code, that is the political scientist code, right?
Right.
And I'm telling you that I'm really glad what Safi said, but I'm going to add to this, right? I personally love the PTI strategy of annoying everybody and then leaving your fate to them, right? You, at this moment, you have annoyed Election Commission to an extent. You have actually alienated the courts as well, whatever you may like it. You have actually, in principle, at least according to your own narrative, you have alienated the establishment as well. And now you have thrown away the advantage you had. There are two very populous provinces. One is Punjab. Punjab is 50% of Pakistan's population. And then Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is very important as well. But what is going to happen now? From today until the election date, whenever it is, there's not going to be a Punjab government, which is PTI's government. It might be some kind of compromise, or some kind of, not compromise, but compromise between the two parties. Or then, of course, Election Commission is going to end up picking up, or in the worst case scenario, or best case scenario, perhaps a court is going to decide who is going to govern Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa for next 3 months. But at that time, the federal government, if it stays put, it has all the advantages. Economic crisis, we are coming out of the economic crisis. Gradually, you are going to get more leverage with spending capacity at the center. And at that time, because of the court's restrictions, the caretaker government will only be able to manage day-to-day affairs. So what exactly happens? There is something that I want to actually get out of my system as well. Since Imran Khan Sahab was put out of power, he has been berating former army chief General Bajwa. But touch wood, I'm telling you the truth. I think there wasn't and there isn't any better friend of Imran Khan than General Bajwa. Because who is the best friend? The one who allows you to actually shoot yourself in the foot, or the one who protects you from your worst possible instincts. Imran Khan Saab's instincts are always been like this: fake it till you make it. It was the character of his politics for 25 years. But in the end, every time he ended up, snatching defeat out of jaws of victory. So this time also, you had a ready-made government which had a lot of funds. It had surplus, budget last time. So they had a lot of spending capacity, and they could have actually instituted enough projects until the actual election date that they could have harvested the benefits of that as well, but they have thrown it all away. Now what exactly is going to happen? I know that there is a possibility that somehow through miscalculation the federal government might actually want to self-destruct, and PMLN has that capacity, but because of the allies and the structure of the coalition government, that is perhaps not going to happen. There is no automatic trigger that if Punjab heads to elections and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa heads to elections, there is going to be an election at the center. And if PMLN can also be protected from its worst instincts, then I tell you that the federal government is going to be around, and it is going to gain the momentum in coming days and regain the narrative that it lost. So there are certain lessons for Imran Khan Sahab that I'm going to actually put out. One, never chalk out a strategy for day after tomorrow based on today's conjectures, assumptions, or circumstantial evidence, because realities change very quickly. On 8th April 2022, if you remember, PDM was ascendant. Everyone thought that if there is going to be an election, PDM is going to win. And then in 1 day or 2 days, there was such a difference that there was, whenever election took place in Punjab, it went in the favor of PDI. So at this moment, because the central government will be around, and because they seem to be doing something for the country, and eventually they will be able to best the economic crisis as well, in the end, these dynamics are going to shift in their direction. There are two, but the second point is never throw away an advantage when you have got. And let me tell you, there are people who have actually lost their benefits just because of this fateful decision. One is Imran Khan, the second is Parvez Elahi, the smartest man who showed us that he still understands the system has been Chaudhry Shujat, who actually went to the only man who knows how to game the system, and that is who? Asif Ali Zardari. So at this moment, it seems that Punjab's political parties keep on, bickering and keep on undermining themselves. It is not going to help PTI, but in the end, if PMLN listens to People's Party, it might gain some kind of ground in Punjab in coming days.
Right. Hafiz Saab, considering, of course, that there is much in terms of the kind of political discussions that we have had and the kind of aspects that there exist with all the political parties, one with regards to, of course, the fact that now the kind of timeline that we're looking at, as Barrister Safi pointed out, is there anything that perhaps can, before the 90 days, bound any sort of timeline with regards to how this decision is going to take place with the caretaker government? And then also when we talk about what is being discussed, especially in the aftermath of the vote of confidence by the Interior Minister or other political leaders from the opposition in Punjab Assembly with regard to the courts being moved, is there any ground or any room now in terms of this particular vote of confidence being taken to the courts, or will there be any value of that, or is this just political rhetoric?
I don't think so, to the extent that someone will go to the court and ask that the Chief Minister has not made a valid advice to the governor for the dissolution of assembly. So that would be the legally out of question when both the political parties, they were before the court and the court has decided, and one party has accepted the vote of confidence process, and simultaneously the power or the prerogative of the Chief Minister has stands resolved and he took the decision. But the second point would be even more important, whether such political instability would continue or would culminate by having a new election in Punjab or the KPK, that would be a question mark. If these political parties, without settling their real issues to the extent of the economy, the election process, the Chief Election Commission, which Patafi Sahab has already pointed out, that there are so many offices where the PTI has made their point of view, they are not accepting because according to them, they are not working as per law or the process given under their respective statutes. If in these processes these political parties or the PDM or the People's Party or the PMLN, the major political parties, when they will go into the election process and there would be election, if one party would lose and the second party would win the election in Punjab, whether these political parties would accept the election results, that would be a question mark. And if the second party who loses, who will not accept, then there would be another election. So if we go by the calendar of this year, we are now in the 12th of January 2022, and if we go by the constitution, the election has to take place within 90 days. And if 90 days would complete in the April, then there will be another election. Might be the KPK government would not dissolve simultaneously, it may take some time, and the election would take place in not April but in May, and then there would be another further election in the September or October if not dissolved earlier by the National Assembly. So the country will not in a position to have such a long election process in Pakistan. The political parties and the leader of the political parties, they should think over it, what is going on with the country. The people are crying for the wheat in Pakistan. The people are crying for the unemployment in Pakistan. The people are crying about the political instability in Pakistan. And by addressing all these issues, or the balance of payment issues, the governance, the political, in a major sides, the country will not go in a better way, which the people of Pakistan or the citizen of Pakistan have expectation that we must have a political or economic stability in Pakistan.
Right.
So all the political parties should sensitize and realize these issues, not coming directly on this TV statement and made the statement without realizing the real situation of Pakistan. We all are Pakistanis, we respect each other, and we should work for the people and country of the Pakistan.
Absolutely. Barrister Safi, considering, of course, as you earlier mentioned, the fact that there is going to be no compulsion in terms of the elections to be held on a national level just because they're being held in Punjab and KP. But how much do you think can this be played upon by the PTI, and especially in terms of the kind of economic challenges that we face, considering, of course, that the elections would be expensive, and considering that right now we still haven't had the 9th review with the IMF, and we've bought some time with the kind of loan, the rollover of the existing loans from the UAE, and of course coming in from the SFD as well. But with regards to how now the narrative seems to be shifted to the kind of economic challenges that exist, do you think that this can at least be some sort of space for the PTI to get some success or benefit out of this move?
Right, so I think it's very interesting, this question, and this very narrative that the PTI is now going to embark upon is going to sow the seeds of dissent within the country. The rest of the country, the smaller provinces, by which I mean KPK, Balochistan, and Sindh, have long held a perspective that the bigger province Punjab tends to steamroll them. And this is an ongoing narrative, especially in Balochistan, where there has been an independence movement going on for a very long time. Now, if, for instance, the narrative that Punjab is the majority of the population and is the biggest province and also comprises the highest GDP, and therefore, in order to accommodate Punjab, the rest of the Pakistan should bend over and bow down to the will of the Punjab Assembly or the Punjabis, so to speak. I think this is going to take a tremendous dent to all the other provinces, but of course at the same time cement PTI considerably strongly within Punjab, where they might be able to spin this as in trying to tell the people that if the rest of the Pakistan does not comply with the will of Punjab, then the will of Punjab has somehow been compromised. And I only see this going forward in a very negative manner. Now, if we were to, for instance, include KPK in with the mix, and then we'd have Punjab and KPK on the one side, Sindh and Balochistan, and the northern areas on the other side. And once again, what I see here is an unnecessary issue between these provinces that would erupt for no reason whatsoever. If provincial assembly elections are taking place, this by no means that national assembly elections need to take place. But as has already been pointed out, dual elections are a very, very expensive process. This is something that the ECP is very cognizant of, and the ECP has already stated this before the honorable courts as well. So, in my opinion, and this is where I honestly feel that the courts now need to start looking into the economic aspects of Pakistan as well. They have time and again ordered for the law to be followed, and the law ought to be followed. However, given that we are continuously going through an economic emergency, and the fact that the courts do not seem to be cognizant of it, but in fact seem to be a tool of causing further economic turmoil within the country, is something that is very discouraging for me as a lawyer and as a citizen of Pakistan, because I feel like at this stage, all institutions should be worried and should be looking very carefully at all aspects, lest Pakistan default. Just a
Right.
couple of days ago, we had a statement come out that Pakistan has just hit its lowest foreign reserves in the last 2 decades. And since we are experiencing situations like this, even though the Geneva Convention had funds being pledged to us, 90% of them are loans. And since we have these economic problems going on, these economic problems should be put first and foremost. The
Right,
economics of
absolutely.
the matter should be addressed first.
Right, absolutely. And let me just talk a little bit more about what you mentioned with regards to the courts. So, Sama Saab, what kind of a role do you think the courts have had to play in this regard, especially in the kind of political crisis that we have seen in the past year, and now, of course, in the Punjab Assembly as well? And what Barrister Safi was pointing out, what do you think could have been done differently? It can still be done differently in terms of how such matters are taken to the courts and what role courts can play to be more cognizant of the challenges that we face.
Sana, I partially agree with Safi, but I would also like to disagree. So let me tell you why. So I
Okay.
think the courts are definitely they have been one of the, if I'm permitted to say, aider and abettor of this present political crisis. So they have deepened the crisis, but they are not the originators of the crisis. The originator is someone we cannot name, the elephant in the room. So the crisis is more sort of profound political crisis. The courts are to blame that they have become B teams of the originators of the crisis, or they have aided and abetted them. And how have they aided and abetted them? Primarily, the tool that they have employed is through rewriting of the constitution, or taking these national or other considerations into account, which is not their primary function. Their primary function is to interpret the law. So that is where my disagreement with Safi comes. That this at this time it is not court's job. That okay, look, economic condition is dire. I know it's dire, but the letter of the law constitution is very clear that there has to be elections within 90 days. This is due to these considerations. They have had different names. Sometimes it's called doctrine of necessity, sometimes it's called greater common good. Leave that to politicians or to parliament or to people. Let the people vote. The courts should not be again invited. And I see that there are calls of that perhaps there could be extended caretaker setup, there could be extended emergency, financial emergency, so on. So I'm not denying those realities. But that would be, again, being very selective about the roles of the courts, and that would not lead us anywhere. I am not in favor of early elections, but this is the will of the people. However it comes, an elected chief minister has made a call. He has dissolved the assembly, so there should be elections in my view. And the letter of the law is very clear. If you look at the Article 105 of the Constitution, Article 224 of the Constitution, and remember, these were the provisions, as our very senior advocate Pokhar Sahib at the very beginning pointed out, said, quote, the parliament after the 18th amendment, they firmed up these constitution provisions so they could not be, if we remember, Ziaul Haq promised election within 90 days. So it turned out to be 11 years or something. So we should resist those calls and also not
Right,
give this
absolutely.
role to.
Right, your point is taken. But Farooq, of course, you can add to the conversation as well.
Before going
Yes.
I only take a minute on it. We are talking about the role of the court. We are talking about the role of the politicians or the legislators. But now I believe the role would be the Election Commission of Pakistan starts. If they would file a reference to the Supreme Court of Pakistan, or they will ask reference to the federal government to file through the President of Pakistan that until there would be a new census in Pakistan, it would be very difficult for them to have an election in Pakistan.
Census is going on. by the
Yeah,
way.
census is going on. So I think that would be a very crucial point and very crucial area,
Okay.
and still might be the Election Commission of Pakistan, which they are repeating, saying for the last many months that until there would be a census, there would be very difficult to have an election, because they are holding the local bodies election, but for the general election, it would be very important and the constitutionally legally important that there would be a census in Pakistan. So
Okay.
I don't think so that in near future might be there would be election in Punjab.
Right, absolutely. Farooq, of course, you can add your remarks to that, but I'm going to give you the difficult task of doing so in a short span of time, and also add to that with regards to the development from the UAE of rolling over the existing loans and an additional 1 billion.
Right. Thank you very much for giving me that easier
Yes.
task. But first of all, regarding what our honorable colleagues were just saying right now, I'm going to function under the assumption that there is going to be an election in 3 months. One indicator of that would be this tweet that I just saw. I don't think the camera can actually pick it up, but Baliur Rahman Sahab, the governor of Punjab, has formally acknowledged that he has received the advice, right? So I think that if all things stay equal, perhaps there is going to be an election in 3 months, give or take a few weeks, perhaps. But if that happens, let me be very honest. I think that at this moment, people of Pakistan don't like a party that had an advantage and threw it away. And that is exactly what has happened in Punjab. PTI has just thrown away the biggest trump card it could have. And it is going to benefit. Let me remind you, when the federal government announced some austerity measures regarding power outages and shop or market closures. At that time, it was Punjab government which said that it is not going to play ball, right? But if today this government is gone, what exactly is going to happen next time the federal government decides something? It is going to be followed in letter and spirit. So that is there. Regarding another very important aspect, whatever is happening in PMLN. PMLN, there's only one party that can defeat PMLN, and that is PMLN itself. Because they, we keep on talking about India's government as two-engine wali sarkar. Even in a sarkar like that with the twin engine of corruption and fear, the country can keep on going. But when you have two drivers or two steerings, the car cannot move ahead. So today ECP has asked PMLN to conduct general body elections within the party within the next 2 months. So they have to fix the organogram and they have to answer the difficult question they have been postponing since 2017.
Okay.
The moment it is done, I think they will be winning Punjab very easily if they want to.
Okay.
Regarding the rollover, I think it, first of all, nothing but gratitude to our Arab brethren, UAE, and also Saudi Arabia. We heard two news items coming from that area, and really grateful. But incidentally, it was again the Arab, sphere of influence that was the biggest, pledge that came from Islamic Development Bank, also originated from
Yes.
there as well. So we have nothing but gratitude for them. And I think that MBS and MBZ, the two heads at this moment of the two governments, are actually real visionaries. There's no doubt about it. But let me say one thing also regarding our own Prime Minister. I think two things are really going in his support. One, the way he bore responsibility when it came to transition within army and next leadership, it goes to his credit when Imran Khan Sahab was muddying water. And secondly, the way he has actually taken entire team and gone to pull the country out of economic crisis. I think that is great news for the federal government as well and Pakistan too.
Right, absolutely. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Osama Khabar, Barrister Safiullah, and of course, Hafiz Abba for joining us and being a part of the discussion, and also, of course, your two children who waited so patiently, and also Farouk for always being part of the debate. There's much to talk about, and we hope better things to come for the country. That's all that we have from the debate. See you tomorrow.